What's up, guys, from the shop? Welcome back to Aries EDC. So on my last video, I shared with you guys that I had gotten these two up and running. I hand sanded them, got them ready for heat treat. I still haven't heat treated them as I start this, but it's going to get done. It's just I have to dedicate a day to it because I heat treat it and then I have to temper. And the temper is like, I have to put it in my little oven, 350, 400 degrees for 2 hours. And I like to do 2 cycles of that. So that's 4 hours that really I need to be home and babysitting that. Because they sit for 2 hours, then they come out, have to cool down to room temperature, and then they go back in for another 2 hours. So that's kind of like something on a day where I am home all day, which is very rare, especially during the week. I do not work from home most days. Actually, on Mondays, I'm starting to work from home, which is kind of cool. But this Monday of this week, as I'm filming this, I was hand sanding these and getting them to a good spot before work, so I wasn't able to heat treat. But they're going to get done. But in the meantime, we can start talking about handle material. So the puffin, which is not seen here, that you guys saw me working on, that one is being sent out for heat treating. So might be another 2 weeks or so before I get that one back. But the rock hopper that I did send out, that one, I've already cut the handle material out for that. So it's going to be red liners with the black linen micarta, which is a fun material. Looks kind of cool once you get it sanded down. So I've pre-cut that, got it ready so that when that comes back, it could all be glued up. Well, shaped. There's a lot more to it than just gluing it up. But the puffin that's going out is going to have black liners. And the person that has asked me to build this for them wants the lime green handles. So it's going to be really freaking cool. So I've laid out, I know, phallic symbols, whatever, insert joke here, but this is what the handle looks like. So this is the handle, and I've already kind of marked it out so I could cut it, because it gives me something to do while that's off getting heat treated. At least I could get started cutting out the handles, getting some work done on it. And then I have marked out, it might be hard to see, the liners. So it's going to have black liners with the lime green and black pins and tubes. And the blade is going to be blued instead of acid etched, which is going to give it that nice dark color, but it's not going to give it the flatness of an acid etch. But anyway, so I got the lime green going. I said we're going to have lots of colors. And then the flamingo, the person that wants me to do that wants a mixture of materials. So they want the black linen micarta, or burlap, I'm sorry, black burlap, which is really cool, almost gives it a carbon fiber look with the nice hot pink. So that's going to be pretty awesome. So basically, you're going to have the bolster is the linen or the burlap micarta, and the bubblegum pink is what it's called, G10, with black pins and black tubes. So that's going to be pretty colorful. It's going to be pretty cool to do. It's going to be pretty neat. So that one's going to be a nice pop of color as well. So what I'm going to do, I just need to cut all this out. And when it comes to like multiple things, and they want black liners with this too. So what I'm going to do is cut all this out, and then I might pre-glue the scales all up before I get the blade done. It gives me a head start, gives me a good spot to start with this. So I might build all this, glue it all up. What I have to do is make sure all of this is nice and flat and true. Drill just some little relief holes on the back so that when I glue it all up, it gives a place for that epoxy to sit. It makes the scales really strong. So I have to work on that. So I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to get started on just cutting this stuff out. I use an older bandsaw blade because this material, G10, micarta, it's really rough on a blade. And I kind of keep separated the bandsaw blades that I use for steel versus the ones I use for this synthetic material. So I'm going to do that. Oh, and for the Damascus Obsession, I think I'm just going to use this curly maple. I've had it laying around, so I think I'm going to get a nice dark contrast on the handle with or the blade, and a nice light handle material. What do you guys think? You think that's a good choice? I think I'm going to go with it. But yeah, so I have that ready to go too. So we just got to cut it all out. I can use my jigsaw for wood, so I'm not going to mess the bandsaw blades up. But all right, I guess I'll start cutting. So let's go. All right, guys, so that was pretty quick. It doesn't take long. So now I have basically the scales that are ready to be kind of glued up. I could do this two ways. This one is the Rockhopper. I really can't do anything until I get that blade back, because at this point I could just glue up the liner to the handle material, which I might do just to get it glued up and lined up. I like to get the holes drilled for the pins, and I really need the blade to do that. So like, for instance, on the Flamingo, Flamingo, even though this is a multi-part construction, I can line up where these holes go to pre-drill it. That way I know exactly where the pins are and the tubes, and then I can trim all this up around it before I glue it up. I want to try to glue up as little material as possible overhanging without getting too close. I'll end up grinding it all to shape, but you got to make sure you're doing that. So I might glue up all the little pieces just to get it lined up. So we'll work on that. All right, guys. So I've been really thinking about this one. I've decided that for the Rockhopper that's getting the black linen and the red liners, I'm just going to wait till that gets back, and I'll glue it up like I normally do. So what I normally would do, for instance, I'll just, once the blade is heat treated and cleaned up to the point where the blade is good, as far as the finish that I want, besides any acid etching or anything else, I will tape up the blade to protect everything that I've done to that. And I'll start focusing on the handle. So before, like, let's say we're going to do this one, it's just 4 parts. So you have the 2 liners and the 2 pieces of handle material. Let's move this out of the way. What I'll do is I'll just come in and drill all the holes for the pins and the tubes. That allows me to line everything up perfectly So when I come back and I cut up and trim back all the handle material that I don't need, it's uniform. So it all looks basically the same, and then I can grind it down, get the front part of that area shaped to where I want it, etc. Then I could glue it up at that point, and the glue up can be just a 4-part. I'll lay the scale, put epoxy, put the pins in, then everything lines up accordingly because I've drilled the holes in all the same spots. And then it all lines up, and I could just put everything together in the order that it's supposed to go. And I'm just using this as an example, and then it all gets glued up. And then once it's glued up and dried, then I could come back and do the final shaping around the edges, and then the hand shaping of the handle. So it's a process, and it takes several hours for me to do, but that's normal. But I've been thinking about that, and I'm just gonna, for the green puffin, oh boy, don't want to lose that. I'm gonna do that same way. So I'll just wait for that blade to come back, and then I'll come back, drill the holes, and do it that way. I don't want to get too ahead of myself because I want to make sure I'm doing it right, and I want to make sure that it's going to look good in the end. So taking my time and doing it the right way is the best. So all of the ones that I've shared with you is going to be pretty much basic construction. You got the liners, you got the handle material, pins, tubes, whatever. So that's going to be fairly simple. But this one, the flamingo, this one's going to be a little bit more difficult. So what I think I need to do is I'm going to have to create the scale, meaning I'm going to have to pre-glue all of these pieces together before I drill the holes. I think that's what's going to work best for this. Then if I could get these as uniform as possible, then I could go in, drill the holes, and then start doing the rough shaping on these. So what I'm gonna have to do is line everything up nicely, make sure everything's hand sanded down. I did flatten these areas that these two are gonna be coming together because I want that. I don't want there to be gaps. Sometimes the epoxy will get in there, close up the gap, make it nice and uniform. But wow. I feel better than I sound, but I want to make sure all the gaps are taken care of. So, how am I going to do this? So basically what I need to do is I'm going to work off of what I drew. So if I can get that there, and then the bolster area can get put there. And I think what I'm doing is putting this separation line right in the middle of that hole, if that makes sense. So that way I know from this side to that side, it's going to be even as long as that's in the middle of the hole. And I can always come back and make sure it's perfect when I drill the holes, because drilling the holes is going to be the placement. That's like the most important part of when you're dealing with multi-piece construction, because you want everything to be even once you glue it all together, and lining it up with the holes is the only way to do that. And as long as I have enough material here to cover where the blade is, meaning the liner, the handle scales, I could have made this probably a little bigger, but I knew this area where it was going up is very thin, so I didn't need a lot of material up here. So that's why I made it a little smaller. But I think if I go with something like that, it'll be good. And then I could glue up these handles accordingly. What do you guys think? You think that's going to look pretty cool? I think it's going to look pretty cool. I think that person's going to be pretty happy with it. At least I hope. If they're watching this, they'll let me know. But what I think I'm going to do is I need to drill just some relief holes kind of in the back. So when I glue this part to this part, the epoxy has some place to go. But I obviously don't want to put any of those relief holes because I'm only going to go in just a little, put a little dimple. I'm not going all the way through. And I don't want to go that deep either. So what I want to make sure I'm doing is I'm not putting it in a place when I cut this back that the holes are on the edges of where the blade is. Because then where the edge of the material hits the blade, you'll see dimples. And I don't want that. I don't want any spaces. So I have to make sure those are being done properly. And then I can glue all this together. So I'm going to go figure this out. What do you guys think? Do you think I'm in the right section? Or I'm in the right place? Making the right choices? Let me know. I don't know. All right. So I think I figured it out. So what I did is I drilled just little dimples in where this is going to connect to the liner. So when I glue it together, and you see I marked both sides, so I know exactly where the liner needs to be. So I want to make sure that the liner is covered every part of that. So I did little dimples. This allows a place for the epoxy to sit and makes that connection stronger. So I just did a couple holes. I don't want to go too crazy with this, and I want to make sure I'm far enough away from where the edge of the blade is going to be. Because like I said, I don't want anything protruding out. So I got everything nice and smooth. I've lined everything up. I don't know if you can see all the lines I made, but everything's nice and lined up. It's going to be nice and tight in there. So I'll make sure epoxy gets all in here. So what I have to do, cleanliness is godliness. So I'm going to glove up. I'm going to take my acetone, wipe everything down, get everything cleaned off perfectly. Then I'll mix up the epoxy and just glue it together, clamp it up. And then I have myself a set of really fancy and bright colored scales to work with. So I might just time lapse this. No sense boring you with all the minor details of stuff. If you really want those details, let me know in the comments. And maybe next time I will share all the nitty gritty and take my time with it. But, you know, I don't want to bore you, and I don't want to make these videos an hour long either. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get All right, guys, well, there we go. Everything's glued up. I can't do anything now until this is all dried. So anyway, I'll share that with you on the next one. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. Please subscribe, like, leave a comment or not. That choice is yours. Later, guys.